Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 328 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. So I love that title, The Danger of Ignoring Inner Dialogue, because it just really applies to every single person on the planet. I mean, every one of us has an ongoing inner dialogue in our head that starts the second we're conscious in the morning to the last second before we go to sleep. For some of us, that looks like looking in the mirror and shredding ourselves because we have age spots or our body isn't exactly the way we want it. Now, for others, it might be just ruminating over that thing someone said or did yesterday. And then for a lot of us, it's simply, holy crap, I've got a lot to do and not enough time to do it. No wonder I'm such a stressed mess. Something like that. Now, these are the kind of thoughts that come from our brain when it's left to its own negative proclivity. Kind of like that Taylor Swift song where she says, left to my own devices, I come with crisis. You know I'm right. It's so important to be aware of those thoughts and that inner dialogue and then get out in front of it. It's important not only for us, for ourselves, but for everyone else in our world too. I'll give you a good example of how that worked for me in just a minute. But during one of my guided meditations this last week, Jeff Warren was talking about thoughts popping up for him like mushrooms, and then it sprouts, and now it's a full-blown mushroom, and you're lost in this spiral of thought after thought after thought from that one little thought that popped up. I could really relate to that. I mean, I used to be totally unaware that I could control any of those thoughts. Since I've been doing all of my thought work, though, I realized that I totally control everything that I think about. And I get to choose if I'm going to allow those thoughts or not. And so do you. And this is a superpower because given the chance, any number of thoughts that pop up in a day could wreck my day if I go all in on it. You know that. I mean, you probably have that same experience. Now, Jeff, during the meditation, was asking us to consider what thoughts feel like in our brain because his description was his felt like mushrooms sprouting up. Mine don't really feel like that. Mine are more like waves. So have you ever been in the ocean on a clear, beautiful day and the waves are so big and you're out in the ocean playing in the waves and maybe you have a boogie board or a surfboard and maybe you don't, but with every wave, you decide whether you're going to ride that wave to shore or if you're going to duck under it and let that wave just smoothly pass you by. That's how thoughts are for me anymore. And the more aware of them I am, the more I realize that I get to decide whether I'm going to ride that wave of thought or if I'm going to duck it like you would when you're playing in the ocean. So this may be kind of a silly example of this happening, but it's real for me. And if you're a people pleaser or feel like other people's feelings are your problem, then you might relate to this. So a friend of mine and I had plans to meet for a yoga class, which we will often do. And normally I'm not the early one to get there, so I'm kind of coming in and finding her, and I put my mat down next to hers. So on this particular day when we had plans, one of my other best friends texted me that morning and was like, hey, what are you up to? And I said, well, I'm doing yoga at 9. And she said, oh, wonderful, I might join you, which I was so happy about because I love my friends. Now, I also normally put my mat down right next to her because we'll do yoga together too as well. And she's usually earlier than me again. So as you'd have it, I'm coming in right before class starts and I get in there and my one friend that I had original plans with was on one side of the room. And the other friend that said she was joining me that morning was on the totally opposite end of the room and they're both waving at me. So I had to make a split decision. And so I just decided to put my mat down next to the friend that I'd made the original plans with. It seemed like the right thing to do. Well, as I'm laying there on my yoga mat, I'm supposed to be de-stressing and feeling relaxed, and we're doing our first positions, and I'm not relaxing at all. I mean, my brain is having these thoughts of like, well, what if you hurt your other friend's feelings? Is she upset? Does she think I'm upset with her? I noticed myself automatically thinking these thoughts, and they were not serving me, and they were not going to make for a very relaxing yoga class. And let me just say this right now, my friends, if they're listening, because I know they do, they're probably going to laugh hysterically about this, but it is what it is. Okay, so I really do quickly notice that I'm having these thoughts, and I just stop and I say to myself, you've done nothing wrong. You would never intentionally hurt anyone. And of course, my friends know that. So I saw that wave coming and I knew what it could do. And I chose to duck it by reminding myself who I am and exactly what's going on here. I chose not to allow that thought to pop up tons of other negative thoughts that would have made me feeling like I did do something wrong. Now, had I rode that wave, I would have tortured myself through the entire class. And then after class, I would have tortured my friends too, because more than likely, I would have run up to her and explained myself on why I chose to put my mat where I did. And now my friend is all up in my drama. And then what if my other friend overhears and thinks I didn't want to have put my mat where I did, and now she has her feelings hurt too? You see how we create problems where there likely is none? We do it all the time. We create problems for ourselves, and that spills over into our relationships with other people. And anything can trigger a thought. Like someone says something that triggers a thought, or does something, or maybe you see a car that reminds you of your ex, or lately you see your phone pops up all these memories, and they're like, hey, remember this, Heidi? And now your thoughts go to how you were feeling at the time that picture was taken, and maybe it wasn't so great. So now you're riding that wave. This goes on and on all day, every day. But when you are able to notice those thoughts and you realize that that's not a thought that's going to serve you, then you know you can change it. So like me, once I told myself I did nothing wrong by where I placed my yoga mat, I didn't think about it again. And after class, the three of us had a fun conversation, no drama whatsoever, because I didn't ride that wave. This is the power of awareness. Being aware of when you have a thought that you know isn't going to serve you. In fact, our inner dialogue has everything to do with our verbal outer dialogue. Dr. Peter Attia, I love him, but he has talked about his struggle with just this inner rage he's had since he was little, which kind of surprised me. But anyway, he talks about how when you're angry inside and when you despise yourself and you talk poorly to yourself, it affects everything else you do, especially your closest relationships. So the way that we speak to ourselves, it matters so much. Now, I know for women, I believe men are the same, but they're judged a bit less on their appearance. So for women, as we age, we can be so critical of ourselves when we look in the mirror. I remember my grandmother, she was probably in her 60s when she told me this, but she said, Heidi, dear, getting old is just so terrible for a woman. I didn't really understand at the time, but now I see what she means. I have to work really hard to be nice to myself in the morning, especially when I first get up. Sometimes it's so hard when you notice all the little signs of aging. But now I've trained myself that I just look in the mirror and I say, you look beautiful this morning. And sometimes I believe it. And other times I'm just kind of like, I laugh a little bit and I'm like, okay, we have a little work to do, but it's all good. But I really try not to start the day criticizing myself for a lot of reasons. But one of them is it affects my other relationships as well. So for instance, if I walk into the bedroom and my husband wants to hug me or love on me and I pull away because I just shredded myself in the mirror telling myself how unworthy I am, there's no way I'm going to feel loving towards him because I feel disgusted with myself. Now he feels rejected because his brain is telling him that I don't find him attractive because I'm always pulling away. And then maybe we fight, which starts the day beautifully, right? Now, let me just interject here. We are not responsible for other people's thoughts and feelings. They're responsible for their own. But can you see how riding that wave of that negative thought, negative self-talk can pick someone else right up alongside you, and now they're on their own wave, and nobody's having any fun? So my challenge to you today is to notice just one thought that's coming that isn't going to serve you. And ask yourself, is this going to make me feel how I want to feel today? Or is this thought going to serve me well? And if it isn't, just tell yourself, you know what? I'm not riding that wave today. I'm going to duck it and let it go, just like a wave. And just like a wave, there will be 100 more that follow, and you'll get to decide whether you ride those too. But what I think you'll notice is how often the drama and the problems in our life are created by those thought waves and the ripple that comes with them. It affects everything else in our life. And that's really good to know, right? Share this with 3 awesome people today. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.